Time to break down the X's and O's here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. If you love the game that we love, you're the hardcore college football fan, lock it in right here. Please check out the videos before you subscribe. I think you'll make that move once you dive into over 7,000 videos from the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers across the nation, including analysis from myself. We've got Justin Tatavio on the line from Ironman Football. So here's the deal. Justin joins us each and every Tuesday. And so we get this segment out at some point during the week and lock into it if you're into strategy. And if you love college football, love football in general, I got to think that you want to know more of what you're watching and what makes sense and makes sense of it all when you're watching on Saturday and Sunday. So you can catch Justin at Ironman Football and also at State of the U. Justin, how you doing today?
Great. Sitting here in the classroom on the lunch break, enjoying life.
Lunch break. All right. I won't ask you what's for lunch today, but
I have like leftover taco stuff. Not exciting. It's kind of like Mean Girls where they have the really sad teacher lunch. Pretty much what we all have.
There you go. Yes. It's been quite a few years since I've been removed from that situation, but from the other side, obviously, sitting in the aisles.
Living the dream of leaving school for the last 30 years.
So let's see. You had dinner with Hal Mummy, and a number of people will know who he is. Others won't. I know him best as Kentucky head coach who mentored and helped Tim Couch become the #1 selection in the NFL draft.
Also, Jared Lorenzen, the hefty lefty, was his quarterback there at Kentucky. And, yeah, he's the subject of The Perfect Pass, which is a great book about the air raid and Hal Mummy's career. He's also known for fighting Mike Leach and kind of establishing Mike in his career. And their coaching tree obviously includes Dana Holgorsen. His name just escaped me, but another quarterback of his that's a Division I head coach right now. And there's a slew of guys out there that have worked for Mike or Hal or in some capacity with them. So we got a little convention going down in North Carolina, and I was just lucky enough to be there, and then wound up by more luck and chance of actually getting a little pizza and some brews with the Godfather.
Some beverages and pizza. That's always a good combination, and you can't get enough of that.
Yeah, staple of the coach's office.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we talked before we started to record that this is an excellent segment to provide for people each and every week who want to lock in and understand what they're watching a little bit better than they do now, more than just watching the ball and knowing that it's 3rd and 5 and what that means. And so we'll bring all sorts of topics to you each and every week. So Justin, this week we're going to talk about some goal line situations, which growing up watching football meant to me that if there weren't already 2 backs in the backfield, there might be 3 backs in the backfield. And definitely if it was inside the 3 or 4 yard line in the late 70s and throughout the 80s and also in the NFL for the most part, that you were going to slam it off tackle twice for sure, almost for sure, before you went to a play action on 3rd down if that didn't work the first 2 times. But it's changed quite a bit, of course. Empty set. There is some criticism there that some passing-oriented offenses that spread the field have difficulty once they get inside the red zone because of the lack of depth of the field, and the receivers can't take advantage of the space, and the boundary becomes more in the back of the end zone, more of a defender. So just kind of take us through different philosophies of attacking inside the 5.
Yeah, hey, and with Miami Hurricanes, you cover quite a bit. Mark Richt enjoyed the run, pass, run, play action formula in the red zone as well for the last couple of seasons. So, there's been some interesting revelations, like you said. Usually, you're used to maybe 2 or 3 tight ends, maybe a fullback and a running back. You're gonna jam the ball in there one way or another, right? If you think of Navy and Army West Point, they're gonna, obviously use stuff like zone dive or maybe midline. They're gonna try to pound the ball in there when they're down there in that situation. The old wishbone teams, stuff like that. And now you've seen like a push away from it, back to it, and then away from it again. It's kind of interesting. Alabama, I believe, was running kind of like a 2 tight endy with the running back and quarterback sort of set, sort of just ramming it straight ahead a little bit in their red zone this year. The process that I always think of is if I'm in the most important area of the field, I want to do the things I'm the best at. So when I'm backed up to my -10, and my back's to my goalpost, or I'm pushing in, those are the two most important segments of the game, right? Don't give up a safety or field position. Don't get a punt blocked, whatever, into your own end zone. And then on the other end of it, you want to score. And a lot of guys consider kicking field goals to not be scoring. It's considered almost a loss now, right? Because you're 4th and 3, you're going to go for it anyway. Screw it. That now in the days of going for it on 4th down, because the analytics have proven that it's just as safe as kicking a field goal in college. So I think people are looking at that, and there used to be, that's the most important place that you are on the field. So you're going to go to do something you don't ever do, or you're going to do the things that you do best. For me, I want to do the things that offensive coordinator. I want to do the things I do best down there, things I'm safest with, most comfortable. And so we're going to do our kind of like base stuff that we really believe in, and make sure that it's all tied in and part of our dynamic. So I think that's why with Washington State, you're going to see, him go into an empty set, right? And he's going to throw stick maybe, or something along the lines of mesh or something like that, where you've got the corner route, which is common in the red zone anyway. We can get to that because that's sort of a fallacy about its success. And then mesh is settling the two guys down in the middle and having a back swing out. Mike Leach likes his back to swing, kind of wheel out there into the end zone, and those backs will sit there all by themselves a lot of the time. So people are seeing that there are a variety of ways. Going single wing may not be your best idea, to cram in a couple of tight ends and a couple of extra backs, because you're closing in the box and you're taking away some of the things that you do best.
Yeah, if there's a criticism that you touched upon from the fan base of any particular team, it's typically we don't throw enough. We want to throw more, and they want to see the ball in the air, and they don't want to see conservatism on offense. And so if it's 2nd and 10 and there's a running play, or 3rd and 5 and there's an unsuccessful running play, then the boos rain down, and the fan base is like a wide open offense, even if it's not necessarily the best and the most discernible thing that you should be doing right there. But the second criticism that I hear, maybe that's approaching the first, would be throwing fades to the corner. That when the quarterback's not accurate, or the receiver seems to be covered, which again, the philosophy is that you've got the matchup. So even if they're covered, they're not covered. Just kind of take us through the philosophy of the fade, which often gets criticized as kind of just a wasted play because we have no other options. We just hoisted toward the corner and we didn't survey the field to see who else was open.
I like it on 1st down. The idea of sending a guy when you're, say, at the 10-yard line and going into a fade, like you said, there's not a lot of room for error into the back corner, right? You've kind of cut the dynamics of the field down. The defensive back isn't going to be as inclined to slip or lose a guy in coverage when he knows he's just pushing him straight into the end zone, right? So it's a good play for 1st down, I think. There's a lot of articles and coverage about the red zone fade, and I have an article on State of the U about the red zone fade, where the analytics are just saying it's not that successful. It's more successful on 1st down than 2nd and 3rd. That really the middle of the field in the goal line area is the most successful. When you look at why that would be, well, guys are locking in on your defensive backs, or locking in your receivers on the outside really tight. And so a fade or even sometimes a slant is going to be a little more difficult because you're in press coverage, right? But as you start to break guys into the middle of the field, a lot of people play cover 0. So there's no safety back. Linebackers are going to bring pressure. A lot of people just decide all of a sudden they're going to 0 and they're going to bring lots of pressure. So your quarterback's got to get out of his hand quick. But he knows there probably isn't going to be a linebacker or safety in the middle of the field. So guys started to just drill in. There's a route combination called spacing, where both, say, your tight end or your slot and your outside receiver on the right will both just kind of run and just turn. So the tight end or slot would turn over the center, and the outside receiver will replace where the slot used to be, which is usually in between himself and the end man on the line of scrimmage. And they both just kind of turn and settle down. And that allows, it's really hard for guys when they're going to bring pressure. It's a quick route, so you can get out of your hand, and bullets shouldn't bother you that much. And You're replacing where the linebacker and the safety just left because they're in zero or they're bringing pressure. It's a really good route to just kind of pop the ball into space in the red zone. And the more I started watching, the more I noticed guys are running almost like shallow cross. So a shallow crossing route from here and that dig there, because now your linebackers who are blitzing are both gone. So maybe there is one safety, but he's got to cover two routes at the same time. That's really difficult to do. If you want to play man against a crossing route, you have to run a long ways. He's going to beat you there, right? So just throwing in the middle of the field is now when the analytics nerds are looking at it, and helping us guys out there a little dumber. They're kind of leading us into throw in the middle of the field if you're going to do it. My favorite red zone play was horns down. Where West Virginia ran against Texas A&M against Oklahoma State, where the hand signal was doing the horns down, and there was a bunch of options on the thing. If you go back to old school football and look at the swinging gate PAT, you've got all the linemen on one side with like a receiver hidden behind him, one receiver on the other side, the quarterback holder, and snapper in the middle. Now you've got to cover all kinds, and if it's all covered, you just say bring it. Oregon loves to run that, right? With Mark Helfrich. You're kind of evaluating that. Basically, what horns down was the same thing. They left one receiver split all the way to the left. He was running either a fade or a slant based on coverage. You had your quarterback there who's going to run a draw. And then you've got on the right three receivers with doing like a little quick screen. Two guys are blocking. And then one guy is in towards more of the middle of the right, and he was running a quick turnaround stick route. So now it's stick draw, which all these air raid guys love, right? So the quarterback's going to flip his hips. He's going to look. If somebody runs underneath the stick route, quarterback takes off and runs the draw, right? And the other two routes are pre-snap reads. So it's mixing all these air raid concepts of stick, of an option route, stick draw, and quick screens. And you're mixing all those air raid routes together to basically create like the air raid goal line masterpiece. And, Wilger obviously ran it with a lot of success.
Justin, how important is it to have wide receivers of different skill sets? The really fast guy, the really big guy, the slot guy with the impeccable hands, just a variety of skill sets and sizes.
You definitely, you talk to any offensive coordinator, they definitely want one tall guy, right? And they definitely want one guy who's really fast. So if the tall guy is not fast, that's okay too. You can kind of overcome it. He gets a matchup of his own. But you can't have a bunch of guys that are all 5'9". You have to have one guy with some height to add that red zone threat of catching a jump ball, or even just the back shoulder throws and stuff, and being able to push a guy off longer arms and box him out. I think of a really big game, Miami and Florida State in '91. Horace Copeland's like a hurdles champion, tall, lanky guy, probably 6'3", and he jumped over the defensive back, might have been Terrell Buckley, caught the ball and flipped over for the big first down. Miami goes and scores, right? But if he's not tall and doesn't do the hurdles, he ain't getting the ball. So it requires that tall, lanky guy to go get it. Lamar Thomas with all the speed, and those two were just uber athlete guys. But, they had Kevin Williams, who was more the slot guy that was 5'8", 5'9" with speed mixing in there. So you have your guy to catch bubbles and little option routes. You have your guys to kind of stretch it vertically or at least height-wise, and you've got a little bit of everything. You do sort of want a little bit of everything when you're designing your offense around that. If they could all be 6'5" and run a 4.4, and obviously you're taking it, but you're probably not going to get that. So you're going to mix and match.
Yeah, Justin Tatavio on the line. You can catch him at Ironman Football, also State of the U. So he breaks down the game film for us each week here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. If you love football, then you lock it in right here. Subscribe, share the videos, like, and comment. So would that be the latest trend that you've seen, or stats that the geeks have given us has been the let's throw to the middle of the field? Or what would be some of the latest trends or information that you've seen that has enlightened you to an aspect of the passing offense?
No, that's a big one. In the red zone, throwing over the middle as opposed to the fade, or trying to put in all the tight ends and ram it in. That's very big. Obviously, everyone's sort of borrowing in on the option route thing, running some air raid concepts. And I think you're going to see the backs out more catching the ball. People are kind of off the idea of having a running back in pass protection as much. Now, the NFL, they might still keep doing it. In college football, you're going to see backs doing more swings, the little Texas angle routes and stuff, the OTB, which is coming into the middle to help and then circling back around. I think you're going to see that more. Mike Leach in his mesh plays running more and more wheels with that back, especially 25 and in, because nobody covers that wheel. So I think you're going to see backs blocking less, that being less of an issue. And you're going to look, if you're pressured, instead of having a back try to knock into some guy twice as big as him, he's going to be out in the flat and you're just going to throw it to him. And I think that's what you're going to see more, is people willing to settle for completions over big, deep balls down the field.
Yeah, because we've talked about that on other segments in regards to defensive philosophy being try to beat us going 80 yards, having to get first down after first down, as opposed to a 35-yard chunk play here and then a 27-yarder, and then you only need 4 plays to score. We're going to try to tackle in space, and you might make a mistake with an overthrow, a drop, a holding penalty, something that's going to back you up as this behind the sticks that we didn't have a whole lot to do with. But it's going to be difficult for you to sustain perfect execution for 10 or 12 plays.
Yeah, longer the drive, the more likelihood of a fumble or an interception or some kind of penalty. I mean, unless you're Army or Navy, right, where they can just grind out 15-play drives. The average team, a good 7 or 8 play drive is what you're looking for. You want probably a good deep shot, something in the middle, a couple of short little things, a couple of good runs, score the ball,
And sometime I would like to dig into some stats, and I could present them to you in regards to something that you alluded to before, and that's going for it on 4th down, because I've heard defensive coordinators say, who have been really honest, I hate trying to protect a 4-point lead on the last drive of the game, because the offense has to go for it on 4th down and we've got to defend for 4 downs, as opposed to conservative coaches saying, oh, we're only down by 3, let's go to overtime, I'm going to settle it down here and not risk the fumble or interception and go for a 45-yard field goal, even though that's not necessarily the best way to approach it, depending on how good your field goal kicker is. But I don't want to in any way insinuate that I was on the cutting edge of this, but I remember looking at it without crunching numbers or having that ability to do so years and years ago, thinking, wait a minute, your offense is at the opponent's 38-yard line. It's 4th and 2. You're going to punt it. If you've got a great punter, yeah, maybe you stick them inside the 5, but most likely you kick it in the end zone or it comes out to the 17. There's only so many possessions in a game. This is a game that's going to be in the 30s or 40s. Why don't you just go for it and give up the 15 yards of field position with the odds in your favor that you're going to make it 65 or 70% of the time, probably.
Yeah. If it's 3rd and 8 and I know I'm going for it on 4th down, I don't have to throw something that goes 8 or 9 yards. I can throw something that goes 4 or 5 and then pick it up on the next one. And if you can consistently get, 4 to 6 yards out of every play that you got, you obviously have a lot of first downs.
Definitely. Justin Tatavio, Ironman Football. Also catch him on State of the U, breaking down Miami and football, X's and O's in general. Justin, I always enjoy this conversation and getting some more insight into what we're watching on Saturdays and Sundays. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff, man.